The views and opinions of the following show do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of News Talk 1450 WOL, Radio 1 Incorporated, or their management.
Welcome to Beyond Just Talk. This is a positive, inspirational, and thought-provoking program that discusses life and business topics from a solution-oriented perspective with your host, S.L. Young.
All right, welcome. It's another great day, and we're ready to discuss subjects that will make a difference in your day. This is the place that people connect, ideas are shared, and lives are enriched. My name is Stacey Young. My author's name is S.L. Young, but please call me Sly. Before we get started today, my guest next week are a husband and wife duo who are a formidable writing team. These individuals write for both the stage and screen, recently self-published their play, An American House, and are co-screenwriters for a $1.6 million made-for-TV movie, Romantically Speaking. For this week, we'll recap last week's show, have a conversation with our in-studio guest, Bill Bouie, and preview next week's guest. So on last week's show, my guest was Marquita Miller, owner of 5-Star Tax and Business Solutions and author of Faithpreneur, who provided some common sense advice about the intersection of faith and entrepreneurship to achieve one's goals. Anyone who embraces these concepts while abiding by God's principles is, as Mrs. Miller refers to it, a faithpreneur. Normally, when we think of the word faith, the initial conversation is that the ensuing conversation will have a religious connotation or be a discussion about a higher power. Even though this might be true, Ms. Miller delivered another thoughtful example. The illustration she provided was that if an individual makes plans for the next day before going to sleep, this is a step in faith. This consideration about faith doesn't have to be related to religion. It's simply a belief that something that's planned can or will happen tomorrow. No matter the way you might define faith, individuals must have a belief and faith that their effort will result in something. Otherwise, there's never a reason to do anything that can lead to having a better life. Faith is that thing that helps us to keep going. One of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s quotes is a good reference. He said, "Faith is taking the first step even when you don't see the whole staircase." The other important concepts discussed with Mrs. Miller were about assets and liabilities. Assets are things that add to something's value. Liabilities are things that subtract from something's value. These terms are usually associated with financial transactions. However, these same terms can be applied to life also. In business, we want to get rid of negative obligations, just as individuals want to get rid of negative influences in their personal lives. In both cases, individuals need to take action to reduce the negative impacts of anything that reduces something's value, including sometimes making difficult decisions to divorce family and friends. Sometimes we don't think about that. So if you missed our conversation, you can listen to it on my website at slyoung.com/bjt-radio.html. That's enough food for thought for now. If you'd like to connect with me on social media, I can be reached on Facebook at facebook.com/beyondjusttalk, one word, on Twitter at SLYOUNGVA, on Google Plus at google.com/+SLYOUNGVA, on Instagram at instagram.com/SLYOUNGVA, and on SoundCloud at soundcloud.com/SLYOUNGVA. As for today's show, we'll discuss volunteerism, which is the use of one's time, energy, and efforts to do something of value to give back to the community. Share your gifts with others and use your abilities to help make changes that can positively redirect someone's life. It doesn't take a lot to make a positive difference. The resulting intrinsic value of someone's contribution to others in society can be longer lasting, personally beneficial, and life-altering. Before I volunteered at a local jail, I was apprehensive about being in this type of environment, questioned my ability to make a difference, and didn't think that my contributions really mattered. It didn't take me long to prove it didn't take long for me to be proven wrong that an individual can be an important factor in changing someone's life. There are a few times that I had life-changing moments at a jail. First, seeing one of my childhood friends who lived very close to me. This moment made me realize that any of us with a momentary bad choice, regardless of education, religious beliefs, associations, or other factors, could be moments from being in the same place. Second, an inmate started to verbally attack me while I was teaching one time. This inmate's verbal assault was related to the type of the material being taught, the purpose of the material, and other questions about my class. As I started to respond, the unexpected thing happened. A growing chorus of the inmates started to come to my defense and support me. This inmate that also raised concerns was also satisfied after I answered his questions. Moreover, I told this inmate that I wasn't offended by any of his questions and that I might have asked similar questions if I was new to the unit too. This allowed for a successful conclusion for all interested parties. Nevertheless, I was shocked that in the jail environment that these inmates would defend my work to educate them. This taught me that life lessons, growth, and support can occur in some of the most unlikely places. Finally, the time that affected me the most was at the completion of one of my programs. A man who appeared to be in his mid-50s to early 60s, who I had just given a certificate of completion, said to me, "This is the first time that I graduated." These experiences changed my views on teaching at a jail, the way in which I view anyone who is fighting for redemption, and that personal happiness can come from the simplest moments, no matter someone's age, the location of the lessons, or their past challenges. Before I introduce today's guest, I want listeners to know that if you'd like to join our conversation, please dial 1-800-450-7876. As for today, my guest today is Bill Bouie, a community activist, president and chief executive officer of Skycom Global, and works tirelessly to give back to the community. Mr. Bouie's parents instilled in him at an early age the importance of civic involvement. In the 60s and 70s, he marched and participated in events with historical leaders such as Martin Luther King Jr., Mary Bethune, Jesse Jackson, and more. Mr. Bouie has served on numerous high-level boards and commissions ranging from the U.S. Olympic Committee Project Gold, Wolf Trap's Board of Directors, Reston Hospital's Board's Vice Chair, and he's also the current and 7-time chairman of the Fairfax County Parks Authority. If this wasn't impressive enough, he manages a company, Skycom Global, which provides network engineering and support services to the public sector, healthcare, and utility markets. Now, without further ado, I welcome my guest, who is someone with many talents, a local executive, a community activist, and most importantly, a man who clearly embodies the importance of volunteerism. Mr. Bill Bouie, welcome to Beyond Just Talk.
Thanks a lot, Sly. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having, I'm glad to have you here in studio today.
Oh, it's great to be here. Thank you.
So one of the things that I love to start with when I have guests come in is find out a little bit about them. So who is Bill Bouie?
Wow. I guess you would, thanks for the great description, but I guess you would, I would describe myself as a serial volunteer. I don't know how to say, I really don't know how to say no. And I've been involved in volunteer activities for as long as I can remember, back to even before kindergarten.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
It was something my parents were always involved in a lot of church and school activities, and they weren't ones to have a babysitter and leave us behind. So we were always involved in the process of whatever they were doing. And
yes.
Not only were they involved in the process, they were typically leaders. Mm-hmm. They were either the president or the chairman of this organization. And I saw my parents throughout the years get a lot of things done. And so it's something that my brother and I just naturally grew into and continue to do today.
Wow, yeah. So, that foundation in the church, it can be very important, because I know a lot of the things that I saw started off in the church as well.
Right.
But tell me a little bit about your educational background.
Well, I've got a great educational background. It's a little bit different in that, I'm an African American. I'm an African American Catholic. Mm-hmm. I'm an African American Catholic that went to an all African American Catholic school.
Wow.
With and being taught by an all African dominated society of nuns.
Wow.
The Oblate Sisters of Providence, whose mother house is in Baltimore, Maryland. So it was completely different in that we did have a Catholic education, a Catholic foundation, actually delivered by African American religious order.
And, not to date you, but at the time that you were going to school, was that something that you would commonly see?
No, not really. I mean, we didn't think anything of it because the nuns had been at our mission, Our Lady of Victory mission in Detroit, since the mid-'40s. And so when I started going to school, they had been there quite a number of years and had established their beachhead and had turned out lots of great kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. And then tell us a little bit about your professional background and your journey to where you are today, because you have an incredible journey.
Oh my God! I'm the luckiest man that's ever been born, Sly, in terms of everything that I ever thought that I could possibly do in life. I've done and then beyond some. Been very, very blessed in that regard. I thought at one point. Going back to the schooling, I was in a Catholic seminary for a few years studying to be a priest. In fact, when I was born, and you've known me a long time about my love for sports, my dad bought to the hospital room with my mom. He gave me a bat and a ball and a glove, and then he pronounced to my mom that I was going to be the first black pope.
Wow.
So I played a lot of baseball, and I don't think the Pope thing is going to work out real well. But that was really the family and school and church was the foundation for everything. I've just had a great time. I got a great education. Got my undergrad degree at Western Michigan University in Kalamazoo in political science. Got my master's in business from Central Michigan University. Married a beautiful lady that I met 38 years ago, and we've been married 36 years and have got 2 great kids.
Wow.
So, I'm living a dream, man.
Well, it sounds like it. Well, one of the things that I actually didn't know about you, and like you said, I've known you for a long time, didn't know anything about this priest thing. Tell us a little bit about that. What happened there, and why did you?
All I ever, I was born, our house was born next to our church, our parish. So I live right next door to the convent and the rectory of Our Lady of Victory in Detroit. And the only thing I ever wanted to be in my life was a priest, because priests were great examples for me. And so, I mean, that's the path that I decided to take. And it was one that I was very, very comfortable with. And it was a tumultuous time. It was, during the late 60s. Going into the 70s, lots of things going on, not only socially, but within the church itself. And I made a decision to take a leave of absence and then embarked on another path.
Wow. So that's an interesting journey. And I'm glad that you shared that with me, because I hadn't known that about you before. So it's very interesting. And right before we go to break, so what was your earliest awareness about volunteering?
Oh, probably school carnivals and parish fairs that we had, where my dad would volunteer and I would run ticket booths. I would help my mom make hot dogs and things like that. So it was always a little bit of something here, a little bit of something there. Selling raffle tickets for our Turkey Day affair, all of that kind of stuff. So it started as early as 5 years old.
Oh, wow. So we can continue this line of conversation after the break.
Sounds great.
WOL AM, where information is power.
Good morning, it's WL. Traffic Update is brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council. Accident just reported on Atlantic Street at Mississippi Avenue Southeast. Look for police on the scene. Westbound Independence Avenue, long-term construction in the left lane causing delays today as you head toward the tidal basin. Southbound 295, still slowing from Benning Road down to East Capitol Street. Understanding your finances is a key to a strong financial future. Learn how to take control of your finances today at feedthepig.org. Now your WOL weather forecast brought to you by Patio Enclosures of DC. For today, cloudy showers, high near 67. More rain overnight, off and on down to 60. Tomorrow, much the same. Cloudy with occasional rain showers again. And a high near only 65. Don't just renovate your home, rejuvenate your life. Patio Enclosures of Washington, D.C. has been giving homeowners the sunroom they want with the service they deserve beginning to end. Schedule your free estimate today. Steve Hirschhorn for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Welcome back to Beyond Just Talk with your host, S.L. Young.
All right, folks, welcome back. You're listening to WOL DC News Talk 1450 and Beyond Just Talk. My in-studio guest today is Bill Bouie, and before the break, we were talking about his journey to learn about the importance of volunteering, and what he was telling us prior to the break was that he really remembers back to around 5 years old, and that was probably that first moment where there was an awareness that volunteering was important. So I know you talked about your parents just a little bit earlier, but what were your parents' role in shaping and driving your desire to volunteer?
Well, I mean, they served as great examples. I mean, we were always at their side. Like I said, we weren't kids that were dropped off or left with grandparents. In fact, my brother and I were pretty much the only kids in our entire family, both sides, that weren't raised by grandparents. Mm-hmm. My parents made a conscious decision that, you know, we were theirs and they were going to raise us, and so we stuck with them all the time. And I remember as early as 5 years old, my mom telling us that, you know, you want to work as hard as you can, you want to be as good as you can. And the thing that I remember most, more than anything else, is her telling me that attitude is everything. Mm. And I remember that at a very early age, and it's the foundation for pretty much everything that I do today, knowing that attitude is everything.
Yeah, and I want to follow up on that concept about attitude is everything. But first, we've got a caller. We've got a Mr. Leland on the line. Mr. Leland, welcome to Beyond Just Talk.
Hi, Don. It's Lindbergh, my friend Lindbergh. You know, Mr. Bouie, he knows me.
Hello, Lindbergh. How are you, my friend?
Hi, I'm very glad to listen the show, and, you know, and be surprised to listen about your life. You know, always we meet at the racquetball club, and oh my God, listen those things about yourself is very. You can be my hero, man.
Well, you're a great friend and a great guy, Lindbergh, and Lindbergh has his own great family.
Yeah. That
I see quite a bit and have a chance to interact with.
Yeah, I'm still listening to it. Nice show. Congratulations, Stacey. And we're waiting for you, man.
Well, maybe one day soon I'll be back on the court. I'm trying to work my way back.
To come back. You have to come back, you know?
We have to get him on the new outdoor court.
Exactly.
Yeah, and we can make chicken soon, you know?
There you go.
All right, that's an incentive for me to come out anyway, just to eat. So thank you, Lindbergh, for calling in.
All right, nice show. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Bill. Bye.
Bye-bye.
All right. So right before we had this caller, you were talking about attitude is everything.
Yes.
What does that mean? Because, you know, you can have a positive attitude, you can have a negative attitude, but just having a positive attitude isn't enough.
No, it's not enough. It's you know, you need to have skills to go with the attitude in order to make things happen. I mean, that's probably the bulk of the reason that I volunteer and I get involved in a lot of things, is because I want to see things done. You know, rather than sitting back and talking about it, if it's meaningful for the community, let's find a way to make those things happen. So, you know, I want to be the guy that helps build that road to get there. In terms of bad attitudes, you know, in terms of bad attitudes, that takes effort. You know, it takes a lot of effort to be miserable in your life. Mm-hmm. And folks don't realize that, right? People don't realize that being miserable is an energy drainer. And so if you set about in a positive direction, control the things that you can control and give your very best effort in the things that you can do, I think you'll turn out okay. I think you'll have a great life. You'll be very, very happy where you are.
Yeah, and I think that's a great place to actually connect to something that you wrote in your bio that I read about you. And you said, whatever you decide to do do it with passion and conviction.
Absolutely. Don't cheat yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, give it all you got. If you think you've got the skill set to be really good at something or to be really great at something, practice, and go after it. And don't let your dream end there. I mean, take it as far as you can possibly take it, and make sure that while you're doing that, you enjoy the activity and you enjoy the journey getting there. But it's not easy, but it can be fun, and it can certainly be rewarding to you. And I've had a life filled and blessed with the ability to do a lot of different things, and for that I'm truly blessed.
Yeah, and one of my past guests, Mr. Rashawn McDonald, was on, and one of the things that he often says to me is that your dream has to be greater than your fear. And once you realize that fear is just an emotion, and you deal with that emotion and then move towards the dream, right. Because once you start to make that or take that first step, everything starts to change, and then you sort of start to get into that natural state of being where you want to go. And so one of the things that you were talking about is, individuals developing their skill set. Mm-hmm. Well, if someone doesn't know what their skill set is, how do you go about developing it?
Wow, that really is a tough question. I mean, I started out my career as a school teacher, and I think that teachers have a tremendous influence. But one of the great challenges that teachers have is if you've got 20 kids in a classroom and you've got a 1-hour class, you've got 1,200 teaching minutes in that hour. And you know this as a professor. Yeah. And the challenge of a teacher is to try within that 1,200 minutes to touch each one of the individuals in that classroom in a positive manner. Mm-hmm. And if they can do that, I think they'll be able to identify certain skill sets. And if you give a child the tools, the child will tell you what they think they're good at. If you encourage them, if you support them, they will tell you what they're good at and what they're not so good at, and give you an opportunity to look at that roadmap on where they should be.
And that's one of the biggest challenges, is figuring out how to help someone to identify what their skill set is. And that's where sometimes, and folks underestimate this, that's where the value of volunteering comes in, because you can develop skills by volunteering. Absolutely. Do you want to touch base on that?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that I talk about a lot is I've been, again, very, very blessed to have served and still serve on a number of boards in our community. And, when you join a board, or when you're asked to invited to join a board, you go out there with the thought that you know quite a few things that go on in that organization, how the organization was built, how the organization is run, and those kinds of things. And in the years that I've been on the board, I've realized you don't know anything about an organization until you've served on that board for a year. Mm. So I would advise anybody that's got that opportunity to join a board, to get involved, and sit back and listen and learn for a year to be able to really positively contribute to that organization. Because there's so many things that happened before you got there. There's a lot of internal history there. There are things that are in the process of being moved forward, and then there are new ideas that are going to be germinated from discussions around those things. So, you learn a lot in that first year, and then that second year you're really able to get on the road and start running.
Yeah, because organizations are very dynamic.
Yes.
And each organization has its own personality and its own culture.
And its own politics.
And its own politics, right? So you've got to figure out what's the lay of the land, and how do you sort of fit in so that you can integrate into the system instead of running parallel or perpendicular, actually, to the system.
Right.
So when was the first time that you actually volunteered to do something?
Wow. Okay. I guess the first time that I volunteered to do something, it's kind of crazy. I was an altar boy, and our parish priest asked for volunteers because the cardinal was coming to perform confirmation, and he asked for volunteers. He wanted to select some volunteers to serve with the cardinal. and my brother and I and a couple of other guys were asked to volunteer. And we became so good at it that the Cardinal would have events around the city of Detroit, and he would ask for us specifically to come and be his altar boys for that event. So because we were that good at it. So that was the first time. I think the second time was probably in high school when I volunteered to go to summer camp and led my way to becoming a camp counselor. But we worked our way all the way up from KP duty, kitchen patrol duty, to being a maintenance guy, to learning how to counsel kids and work with kids of all ages and races. So it was a dynamic path, if you will.
Yeah, and there's a couple of things that you sort of added on to what you were saying earlier about attitude is everything. But what you were actually just describing, what I heard was reputation is important, and then proof of performance.
Absolutely.
Because once folks know that you can do it, they call on you, and that could be sort of size a plus or a minus, right?
And that's a great thought, because even in business, if I look at historically the business that we've done at Skycom and previous companies, probably 70% of our business has been through referral. Or somebody passing our name on to somebody else, or your last job. It was not through a marketing effort or a sales effort, or because I attended some conference. It was because of reputation that preceded us. And you're only as good as your last job in business. And so you're constantly striving to achieve greatness in the things that you do. You want to always be at the top of your game at whatever you do, and people will notice when you give them that little bit extra. But with us, we hope that little bit extra is more the norm than the exception.
Right, and one of the things that I always like to tell my students and others who I counsel and mentor is that it's not about perfection, it's about excellence. You can't be perfect, but you can strive for excellence.
Absolutely.
And so you were talking about the time that you started volunteering as an altar boy, and then as sort of through school. And I know that in Fairfax County in particular, I believe that some schools require a certain amount of community service hours for students to graduate from high school. Do you believe that this type of requirement is reasonable?
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. And time after time, Fairfax County is such a wonderful, wonderful county to serve as an example for tourism. Fairfax County is tremendous in that the county, for the most part, is run by volunteers. There are 93 different boards and commissions within the county of Fairfax. Various elements of the county that provide advice and leadership to the Board of Supervisors for final decisions regarding implementation and budget. So, and time after time in our Park Authority board meetings, I see Boy Scout groups, Girl Scout groups, Eagle Scouts, various citizens groups that come before us that want to find out exactly what the process is, how to get things done, and to learn more about the things that we do. We're truly blessed in the Park Authority in that we have close to 300,000 volunteer hours in a year that saves us. I mean, right off the bat, that saves us about $4.5 million a year in things that we don't have to find. So, lots.
And we're going to have an opportunity to talk about your work at the Fairfax County Parks Authority a little bit later, but we've got to let folks know that volunteering is a very important ability to help these government agencies and nonprofit organizations save money by giving your time. That's the most valuable resource that you can give.
The most valuable thing that you can do is give your time.
All right, folks, so we're time for another break, and we'll talk to you on the other side.
1450 WOL AM. Information is power.
This report brought to you by Centrum Multi Gummies, a complete and tasty way to support the most important parts of you. Centrum Multi Gummies. See gummies in a whole new light. Fairfax County investigators have ruled a fire accidental, saying charcoal ashes and coals were dumped too close to an unattached garage. There were no injuries early yesterday morning on Fernley Boulevard in Springfield. Baltimore health officials say a patient evaluated at Johns Hopkins Hospital does not have the Ebola virus and has been discharged. The person, who was admitted Sunday, had developed a fever after recent travel to West Africa. A Baltimore community is honoring a 3-year-old girl. City leaders are calling for justice in the death of Mackenzie Elliott, who was struck by a stray bullet last August. Mayor Stephanie Rawlings Blake says a reward to find Mackenzie's killer has been increased to $7,800.
People have to come forward. They have to be willing to stand up. They have to be willing to say, not on my watch.
Baltimore officials and the girl's family and neighbors dedicated a street sign reading Mackenzie Elliott Way. A former Tuskegee airman from Maryland has died. William Colbert lived in Cumberland. Just last month, Senator Ben Cardin had presented Colbert with the Congressional Gold Medal. One person is dead, another injured following a house fire in Baltimore County. Firefighters rescued 2 people from the home in Randallstown yesterday morning. 87-year-old Wilfred Quimby and his 57-year-old daughter. Quimby died at a hospital. The daughter was in critical condition at Hopkins Bayview. DC United will be looking to set a new franchise record for consecutive home victories tomorrow night against Chicago at RFK Stadium. They made it 19 straight wins at home on Saturday, 2-1 over Philadelphia, keeping DC United in first place on the Eastern Conference. With yesterday's rain out, the Nationals and the Blue Jays will play 2 today. Baltimore lost to the Astros 5-2. This report brought to you by the Foundation for a Better Life. Commitment, pass it on from the Foundation for a Better Life at values.com. I'm John Lewis. When you're looking for news from Black America, go to newsone.com.
Welcome back to Beyond Just Talk with your host, S.L. Young.
All right, folks, welcome back to WOL DC News Talk 1450 AM. You're listening to Beyond Just Talk, and my in-studio guest today is Mr. Bill Bouie. So before the break, we were talking about whether it should be required for high school students to, or at least seniors, or, actually just high school students in general, to have a requirement to complete a certain amount of volunteer hours before they graduated. And Mr. Bouie was telling me that that's definitely something that should happen. So let's take it a step, even bigger than that. Do you think that individuals should be required, just generally speaking, to volunteer?
See, I don't know if you can. You can mandate it as part of the core curriculum. Mm-hmm. You can mandate that people be involved in something. So if they are in the education process, whether it be, grade school, middle school, high school, or college, university, there should be some type of requirement to give back in some way. But I think that what we talked about earlier, I still think that you have to have a passion about something that you really want to do. So, forcing them is not gonna really get them. But you want to give them an opportunity to get involved in something where they can make a positive contribution.
Yeah, and definitely. And I know that some organizations now are offering philanthropic hours or time off for folks to go out and volunteer and give back. I think that that's something that's very, very important. What are your thoughts about that?
I think that should be inherent to any company's culture that allows it to do it. I know in our company we don't have a policy for that because it's just a given that if you're going to participate in something in your community that you're going to give back to, all you need to do is let me know or one of our executive team know, and the answer is just going to be yes on how you can do that. And we'll figure out how we can make without you for a couple of days. But it's very, very important to contribute to the communities where you live and to expand that investment, and even more so to be an example for your kids and their friends on you being involved.
Right.
Because they see that and they remember that always.
Just to follow up on that just a little bit. So I am somebody who's sitting out here listening to this program right now and said, you know what, I want to volunteer, but I don't have anything that anybody wants. What's your advice?
That's not true. Everybody's got something to contribute, and if you want to get involved in something really, really positive, I've got my hands in a lot of different wells, so please contact you, and you can get them to me, and I'll be more than happy to work with them to get them involved in an activity that they will actually enjoy. And that can go from gardening to umpiring to, being a docent at a theater or anything like that. So there's lots of things to do.
And what's interesting about what you just said is you brought up some things that folks wouldn't normally think about is volunteer opportunity. So there's a lot of things out there, folks, that you can do to volunteer. So, whether you contact me and contact Bill through me or contact your local government or your nonprofit organization, go out there and give some of your time to give back, because let me tell you, from my personal experiences, it is absolutely rewarding. When I come out of the jail after teaching these guys, and even when I'm going in, I start to get that energy up feeling. But when I leave after being in there with them, it's just like, man, I've done good.
Yeah, and we just started a program at the Reston Community Center it's a driving program to provide transportation for seniors. Grandma, grandpa, or whoever needs to get to the store or just needs to make a quick run somewhere. They call us at a central number. We send a car. We send a driver to them. They take them on their rounds for a given afternoon, pick up their prescriptions, maybe even to just go to a movie. It's just really, really, there are a lot of opportunities out there with our community centers, with our government, with our hospitals to involve yourself.
Well, earlier in the show, I shared some of my personal experiences, like some of the things that touched me while I was, while I've been out there volunteering. Was there like a moment or moments for you that just made you feel like, wow, this is what I need to continue to do? Is there like a story that you can share?
The thing that blew me away more than anything else was I was selected by the U.S. Olympic Committee to participate in Project Gold. Project Gold is a program that identifies minorities for leadership in Olympic positions, if you will. And then the other goal is to find minorities and women that are not involved in developmental sports programs sanctioned by the Olympic Committee, to get those people involved because nobody's seen them before, more like talent scouts, if you will. So the opening night of Project Goal, I was selected. There were 20 people selected. There were almost 2,000 entries. How I got it, I have no idea. But among the 20 people were 4 gold medalists from past Olympic Games, Wyoming Attias and a couple of others. And the governor of the state of Colorado, we had the dinner at his mansion. And he began the evening by welcoming us and then reading everybody's biography. And you're listening to the biography of the people that have been selected, and you're thinking, wow, how am I here with these people? Because these people are really, really special. And the crazy part about it was, after that event was over, the Olympic medalists and the other people all went around the room saying, my God, you've led such a tremendous life. They thought as much about you as you thought about them. And the things that they thought that what the kind of things that you did in the community, they would love to be able to step up and do those kinds of things. And I thought about the same thing as there in Athens or Sydney or, before hundreds of thousands of people doing what they do best. And so that was a tremendous setting. But there was an exercise during the weekend that was just mind-boggling. We were each given 3 traits on a piece of paper, and then we were given a name. And nobody knew you knew who you got. And your chore over the weekend was to look at those 3 traits with that person and identify where they showed those traits during the course of the weekend. And at our graduation ceremony, when you came up as a graduate, it was Bill Bouie on the stage getting his diploma. Somebody stood up and said, well, I watched Bill Bouie, and the traits that I were looking for were these 3 things. And he demonstrated these 3 things here, here, and here over the course of Thursday through Sunday. And it was mind-boggling. But it was a very interesting test.
I mean, we've covered so much on today's show. I mean, it's very interesting talking to you and learning more about your background. But I still want to learn a little bit more because you have served on numerous high-level boards and commissions. So you just told us a little bit about the U.S. Olympic Committee, Project Gold. Why don't you tell us a little bit about Wolf Trap's board of directors right now? What do you do there?
Wow. Okay. So I just rolled off the Wolf Trap Associates board, and I was on the Wolf Trap board for a year. Again, I was nominated by another community member in our community, Jim Cleveland, who's well known in Reston, and for all the things that he did. And he said, I think you'd be a good fit. And again, you go on a board, you're accepted by the board. and you think you know everything about an organization. I would venture to say today that most people have no idea what the brand Wolf Trap really stands for, what it means. The goal of Wolf Trap is not, Chaka Khan and Kool and the Gang, or the National Symphonic Orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
The goal of all of that is to promote childhood education using STEM. And the Wolf Trap brand is spread throughout the United States. It's in classrooms everywhere. But the goal of Wolf Trap is really childhood education in the arts.
Now, that's interesting because that's a totally different perspective than most folks would think about it.
Absolutely it is. But again, unless you sit there for a year, you don't understand that true thing. So, you want to get involved in Wolf. You want to see what Wolf Trap is really all about? Call up the Center for Education. Go sit in a classroom and watch what Wolf Trap does for young children. That's the beauty of Wolf Trap.
Well, it sounds like I might need to have a field trip.
You may. I will certainly accompany you on that field trip if you'd like.
Oh, well, thank you. And so what about Reston Hospital Board? You're the vice chair there?
I'm the vice chair this year. I'll be rolling off the board this year. My 6 years will be up. It's fascinating. It's been fascinating to be on the hospital board, especially at the time of the passage and the implementation of the Affordable Care Act.
Mm-hmm.
I can see a lot of positive effects. We meet once a month. We see all of the data, so we can see where the Affordable Care Act is having a positive effect on communities,
mm-hmm.
And where it's going to mean a lot going forward. We see the opportunity for people that are now getting preventative care versus showing up in our emergency room as a last-ditch effort for care. So, so that's been a real education as well, and it allows me to go out because there's so many misunderstandings about what the Affordable Care Act is, and I refuse to call it Obamacare because it's not. It's
right.
It's the Affordable Care Act.
And that's a political term when folks refer to it as Obamacare
Absolutely.
Versus the Affordable Care Act.
And I make a point of making sure they understand it's the Affordable Care Act. And it's to make health care affordable and available to everyone across this nation. Health care is a right.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a privilege.
Right.
And so we're getting there. Little steps, but we are getting there. And thank God for the president and Congress for passing that and getting it through.
Yeah, and I'm just going to go off on a little tangent there, but one of the things that folks have to be careful with when we start using these terms like Obamacare, that's a term that is really politicized, and now you're adding into the politics. And if you want to really refer to a piece of legislation, call it by its proper name versus associating it with an individual, because this initiative is so much more than the president who happened to be the one to get it through.
Right. This affects everybody, and it's best for our nation.
In the time that we have left, one of the things that I want to touch base with you on is your time as the chairman of the Fairfax County Parks Authority, and then some other life lessons that you might want to share with our audience. But we're going to hold that thought, and we'll pick up right after the break.
Sounds good.
$14.50 WOL.
Good morning. This WOL Traffic Update is brought to you by LGS Innovations. Around the Beltway, we're doing okay. Cleared up College Park to Silver Spring, and we're good on the Prince George's County side of the Beltway as well. Southbound 295 is going from Benning Road to East Capitol Street, but everything there is open across the Southeast-Southwest Freeway, improving now in both directions. Earlier accident near Main Avenue cleared away. LGS Innovations Career Fair, Reston, Virginia, Thursday, June 11th from 4 to 8 p.m. at the Sheraton Hotel, lgsjobs.com. Now your WOL weather forecast brought to you by Montgomery College. For today, cloudy, showers off and on, a high near 67, cloudy with some showers overnight tonight down to 60. Another overcast day tomorrow with occasional sprinkles, a high near 65. Montgomery College, convenient location, small class sizes, transfer options, and over 130 programs to choose from. April apply today for fall 2015 classes. Steve Hirschhorn for News Talk 1450 WOL, where information is power.
Welcome back to Beyond Just Talk with your host, S.L. Young.
All right, folks, we're back again. I can't believe that we're already in the final segment of the show. Man, this has been a great conversation. I've really enjoyed my in-studio guest today. So if you're not sure what you're listening to to WOL DC News Talk 1450 AM, and this is Beyond Just Talk. Phil Bouie, man, just so much stuff that you've given us today, and I've got more that I want to cover, but I know we're running out of time. So tell us a little bit about your time as the current and 7-time chairman of the Fairfax County Parks Authority.
Oh my gosh, it is an honor and a privilege to be the chairman of the Park Authority and to be a part of the Park Authority board and the executive team and all the members of the Park Authority. It is a special group of people that works really, really hard. I've been on the board since 2004. Was appointed by Supervisor Kathy Hudgens, who's the only African-American member of the Board of Supervisors, and has been a great champion of parks, if you will. And she knew I had a passion for parks and recreation. And again, we have something a little bit different in Fairfax County in that the Park Authority owns almost 10% of all the land in Fairfax County. We own almost 24,000 acres of land in Fairfax County. You know, we've got 900 parks and 9 rec centers and, you know, hundreds of miles of trails, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. But we're not a parks and rec because we have another group within the county that actually schedules all of our fields. So we have Park Authority is really divided in a couple of different things. One's revenue producing, and the other is what you get for your tax dollar. And with the diversity of Fairfax County, with us being almost 50%, minority majority, it's incredible the things that we go through to find out, what are the current needs of the changing demographics. So we've done things like, we just added our 3rd cricket field. We got 4,000 cricket players in Fairfax County. Who would have ever guessed?
I didn't guess that.
4,000 cricket players in Fairfax County. And one of our great cricket players is on our board, Faisal Khan, who brings a really, really interesting and different perspective to the board. But we also have, we have gardeners. We have artists. We have concert series. We have people that want to do nothing but walk the trails. We have people that want to take a fitness class. So we just do so many things, and we partner with the schools. We partner with the county. We partner with human services. And so we've adopted a theme this year of healthness and wellness should be added to our mantra because, our population is aging. We need the ability to do more things with less. And so we're looking at things like adult playgrounds now, with swing sets where adults can go out and swing or, do things that won't hurt themselves on an exercise trail. We just opened up the outdoor courts complex in Reston with 7 outdoor courts, 4 3-wall racquetball courts and 3 1-wall courts. That goes along with tennis and soccer and volleyball and everything else there. So the changing demographic leads us to constantly reassess where we are and try to plan strategically going forward to meet those needs.
Well, thank you. And so as we start to wind down for today's show, what are some of the life lessons that you've learned while volunteering?
Oh, man. Started at the beginning. Attitude is everything. I think I've sent that to you in my bio. Eliminate all the contractions from your life. No, won't, shouldn't, couldn't, don't, won't. Get rid of those. Figure out a way to get it done if you possibly can. And again, anything that you do in your life, attack it with passion. Really, really go after it with gusto and be positive because remember, it takes negative energy to be a negative person. So no room for that. And
if you're going to be using your energy, you might as well use it towards something positive.
Exactly. Something that you're going to enjoy. Why not?
Yeah. It's funny. I think I'd heard someplace some while ago that says it takes more energy to frown than it does to smile.
Absolutely.
So why not spend the energy wisely?
Exactly. I was reading an article on that yesterday, so it just reinforces what we've been talking about here.
Exactly. So what are some of the skills that individuals can develop while they're volunteering? Because we've touched base on it just a little bit that said folks can develop some skills. Mm-hmm. But one of the things that I'll throw out is someone who might be unemployed right now, they can go volunteer somewhere and take the skills that they have and make sure that they maintain them, or they might be able to develop some other skills. So what are some other things that folks can learn?
I think two things stand out. One is organizational skills, how to organize, how to put something together, how to write a proposal, how to write a presentation, how to put together speaking remarks to a group trying to sell whatever your concept is. So organizational skills are certainly very much a positive, and you're supported always by teams who do have serious organizational skills. Mm-hmm. And then the second thing is leadership. Learning where your voice is, learning what your voice means, learning how to use your voice to move something forward in a very, very positive manner. Mm-hmm. Become a spokesperson for the things that you believe in. And that's very, 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 very critical, very, very important in any volunteer organization because, what you have to say, your thought process matters. Mm-hmm. We need to hear from you in order to affect change.
Yeah, and then by volunteering also, it gives you an opportunity to sometimes step outside of your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
It's a safe place to explore some new talents.
Exactly.
So what are some of your upcoming volunteering activities?
Wow. Well, this weekend is the celebration of National Trails Day. So at 10:30 a.m. on Saturday morning, we'll be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony at Lake Fairfax Park to celebrate National Trails Week. So that's coming up on our agenda. Mm-hmm. And of course, Wolf Trap. We're right at the beginning of the Wolf Trap season, and the Wolf Trap season will go on. And we've also, within the Park Authority, we got the summer concert series. Mm-hmm. So Lee District Park, Frying Pan Farm Park. Some of the other locations within the park system will have daily or weekly concerts that'll be involved. We've got we just had the Fine Arts Festival in Reston, mm-hmm. And so we've got a number of different festivals that'll be coming up at the Reston Town Center this summer. So we'll have a lot of volunteer activities that are coming up.
All right, great. So one of the other things that I want you to do, because you're not only involved in volunteering, you're also involved in running your company, Skycom Global. Right. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what you do with this company and this organization?
Okay, so Sky Communications is a telecommunications professional services company. We've been around since 1996. We're about 45 employees. We're spread across the United States. Our official on-paper headquarters is the thriving metropolis of Flower Mound, Texas, but I reside in Reston for all intents and purposes. We are in Reston, but we concentrate on providing network engineering, professional services, managed services to the public sector, which includes state, local, and federal government sectors. We do work for the utility sector, and we're very, very big in the healthcare sector. So we do a lot of work with telephone companies and great partners like Verizon and AT&T and Unify, and in turn we partner with them to have clients like the FBI and Homeland Security and Department of Justice, U.S. court system, U.S. Navy, mm-hmm. Some of our clients. And then in the utility sector, we've done a lot of work in terms of looking at the changing infrastructure of utilities, aging infrastructure of utilities, bringing them really from an analog world to the new connected world, if you will. And then in healthcare is just changing so dramatically with the movement of data. Very, very critical data. How do you use that data? How do you store that data? And so we run a number of different healthcare facilities. My engineers support all of the New York City hospitals. There's 19 hospitals and 140 clinics that we do. We've done the University of Texas Medical building down in Galveston. I've got about 8 people down in Galveston, Texas. We do University of Texas Southwest Medical Center in Dallas. So we get around quite a bit, and it's been a fun journey.
It sounds like it. It sounds like you've had an incredible journey, an incredible life, an incredible story, and you continue to give back to the community. These are the things that we have to all consider, because life is not just about working and generating revenue or funds for yourself. It's also about giving back to others, sharing our experiences, lifting others up, helping someone out, and making this world a better place than it could otherwise possibly be.
Yeah, you can always go out and get a job.
Exactly.
Go find something that you've got passion about and conquer it.
Well, Mr. Bill Bouie, thank you so much for being here today. I really enjoyed the conversation. In closing, I hope that you enjoyed today's show. On next week's show, my guest will be Lisa Nani Masegi. I'm probably messing that up. And Todd Masegi. Sorry about that. And a writing duo and team who wrote a movie script that was produced in Hollywood and who also help inspiring writers by providing writing advice on their website. Remember, your candle is fueled from within, so don't let anyone reduce or block the fuel to maximize its brightness. Enjoy the rest of your week. Until next time, my friends, have a good one.
News updates on the web at WOL DC News.com.